The late autumn wind swept across the cemetery, shaking the last golden leaves from the maple trees. Elise Monroe knelt on the cold ground, her beige dress wrinkled and damp with dew. Her little daughter Hope clung to her neck, her tiny fists trembling. Elise whispered soothingly, though her voice shook with exhaustion. "Mommy's here, sweetheart. Mommy's here." She placed a small bouquet of wild daisies on the grave in front of her, her mother's grave, the only person who had ever stood beside her through thick and thin. Elise didn't cry loudly. Her grief was the silent, choking kind, the kind that twisted her ribs until it hurt to breathe. Hope lifted her head and looked at the gravestone, then back at her mother.
"Grandma sleeping?"
"Yes," Elise whispered, brushing a tear from the little girl's cheek. "She's resting now." Behind them, footsteps approached, slow, hesitant, deliberate. Elise turned and saw a tall man in a charcoal gray blazer holding a bouquet of white chrysanthemums. His dark hair moved with the breeze, and his expression carried the weight of years of buried sorrow. He stared quietly at her for a moment, then at the grave she knelt beside. "That's my wife's grave," he said softly. Elise gasped, stumbling to stand. "Oh, sir, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. We'll leave right away." "No, don't." His voice was gentle. "You're not disturbing anything." Her heart pounded. The man looked like someone carved out of heartbreak and discipline. Man accustomed to silence and command. But at this moment he looked human, broken even. He knelt beside the grave, placing his chrysanthemums with a tenderness that shook Elise. Hope stared at him curiously. "You sad too?" The man managed a strained smile. "Yes, I'm sad too." And that was how Elise Monroe first met Daniel Hayes, the millionaire no one truly understood. Daniel stood up slowly, brushing dirt from his palms. Elise held Hope tightly, unsure whether to leave or stay. "You visit this grave often?" Daniel asked, glancing at her canvas bag filled with children's clothes. Elise swallowed hard. "Only when I can manage the bus fare." He noticed her dress, pretty but old. Her coat, thin for the season. Her daughter, cute but wearing shoes clearly a size too small. He nodded toward the gravestone. "You said it was your mother?" "Yes." Her voice trembled. "She passed 4 months ago. She was all we had." Daniel's eyes softened. "What happened to her?" Elise hesitated. She hated telling her story, hated reliving it, but something about this stranger made her feel safer than she'd felt in years. "She worked as a waitress," Elise started. "Long hours. She always told me not to worry, that things would get better. I was studying nursing back then, before I got pregnant." Daniel glanced at Hope, who was now picking fallen leaves from the grass. "The father?" he asked gently. "He left when I told him." Elise forced a smile. "He said he was too young for responsibility. Mom supported me, helped me raise Hope. I tried to balance work and school, but after Mom died, everything collapsed." Her voice cracked. "I dropped out. Bills kept piling up. Some nights, Hope and I sleep at the shelter. I've been trying to find steady work, but no one wants to hire someone without a degree and with a toddler." She looked down, ashamed. "I'm trying. I swear I'm trying." Daniel felt something sink inside him. The honesty in her voice, the quiet desperation, it pierced him like a blade. He'd seen people beg for favors, money, opportunity, but Elise wasn't begging. She was simply explaining the life that had crushed her, and he recognized that kind of pain. "My wife," Daniel whispered, voice fragile. "She died 2 years ago. Car accident. Since then, I come here every week, usually alone." Elise lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry." He nodded. They stayed silent for a long moment, the kind of silence that feels shared rather than awkward. "Come walk with me," Daniel finally said. "Tell me what you need." Elise blinked. "Sir, I'm not asking for anything." "I know," he smiled softly. "That's why I'm asking." Daniel walked beside Elise and Hope down the cemetery path, leaves crunching under their feet. Hope tugged on Daniel's sleeve suddenly. "Are you a prince?" she asked seriously. Daniel chuckled, a sound he hadn't made in months. "Why do you think that?" "You're shiny," she said, pointing at his expensive shoes. "Mommy says shiny things cost lots of money." Elise turned red, mortified. Hope! Don't say things like that. It's all right, Daniel said. She's observant. Elise hugged Hope tighter, embarrassed. When they reached the gate, Daniel stopped. Elise, I'd like to help you. She stiffened. Sir Daniel, I don't want charity. It's not charity. His eyes locked on hers. It's a job. She froze. A job? I run a healthcare foundation, he said. We fund clinics, train nurses, support community outreach. You said you studied nursing, correct? Yes, 2 years completed. Good. We need assistant trainees. Someone organized, compassionate, willing to learn. She stared at him like he was joking. You'd hire me? Just like that. Daniel shrugged lightly. Not just like that. You'll interview, submit paperwork, meet HR. But I'll make sure they see what I see. Her lips trembled. Daniel, I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet, he said softly. Just promise me you'll show up Monday at 9 a.m. Hope tugged on Elise's hand. Mommy, you get work? Elise nodded slowly, tears forming. Yes, baby, I think Mommy finally got work. Daniel watched the moment quietly, his chest tightening. Maybe for the first time in years he felt something warm inside him again. Monday morning, Elise stood outside the Hayes Medical Foundation building, hands shaking, Hope at her side. Daniel met them in the lobby, dressed in a navy suit that made him look even more imposing. You made it, he said with a small smile. I promised I would. He bent down to Hope. And how are you today? I'm hungry, she said honestly. Daniel blinked. Well, we can fix that. He guided them to the cafeteria, ordering breakfast for both mother and daughter. Elise protested, but Daniel waved it off. You need energy for your interview, he said. Consider it. Good luck, food. The interview took an hour. HR was impressed. Elise was articulate, compassionate, eager. By noon, she had the job. When she walked out with her offer letter, Daniel was waiting. Well, he asked. She couldn't speak. She simply nodded, bursting into tears. Daniel caught her before she collapsed. You're safe now, he murmured. You're going to be okay, Elise. But deep down, he wasn't sure who he was reassuring more, her or himself. Weeks turned into months. Elise became one of the foundation's best trainees. She worked long hours, sometimes stumbling into Daniel's office with files or reports. At first, they were formal, polite, reserved. But slowly, something shifted. Elise began smiling again. Daniel began laughing again. Hope adored him. She drew pictures for him, insisted on showing him her tiny victories, tying her shoes, memorizing the alphabet, learning to braid her doll's hair. One snowy evening, Daniel gave them a ride home from the clinic. Their bus route had shut down early. As he walked them to the shelter door, Hope wrapped her arms around his leg. Good night, Mr. Daniel. Good night, little sunshine. Elise felt tears sting her eyes. You don't have to keep helping us, she whispered. Daniel met her gaze. I don't want to stop. A breath caught in her chest. Daniel, I'm not ready for anything. I don't have anything to offer except struggles and baggage. I'm not asking for anything, he said quietly. I just want you to know you're not alone anymore. The snowfall softened around them, drifting like tiny feathers. Elise closed her eyes, letting the cold air burn her lungs. And for the first time in years, she believed some future. Spring arrived gently, brushing color back into the world. On the anniversary of Daniel's wife's passing, Elise went with him to the cemetery. Hope placed white daisies at the grave, patting the soil clumsily. Daniel stood silently, eyes glassy. Elise touched his arm. You miss her. I always will, he whispered. A part of me will always belong here. I understand, Elise lowered her gaze. You loved deeply. That's not something that disappears. He turned to her, pain and gratitude woven into his expression. Elise, when I first saw you here crying, holding your daughter, I thought you were lost. He exhaled softly, but maybe I was the one lost. And you reminded me what it feels like to feel again. Her heartbeat quickened. I'm not trying to replace anyone, she murmured. I know. He stepped closer. You didn't replace her. You healed me. Hope tugged Elise's dress. Mommy, are you crying? Elise laughed through her tears. A little. Daniel knelt in front of Hope. Can I tell you a secret? Hope nodded eagerly. I think your mommy is the bravest person I've ever met. Hope turned to Elise. Mommy, is that true? Elise's chest swelled. I'm trying, baby. Daniel took Elise's hand carefully as though asking permission. She didn't pull away. I don't know what the future holds, he said. But I know this, I want you in mine. The wind lifted around them, warm and tender. Elise looked at the grave, at the place where pain began, and then at Daniel, where something new was quietly blooming. Then take it slow, she whispered. Let's grow into whatever this is. Daniel nodded, smiling for the first time that day. Hope pushed their hands together. Okay, now we family. Daniel laughed, pulling both Elise and Hope into his arms. In a place built for endings, they had finally found a beginning. The end.